Joining me now is Cynthia Le Sueur Aquin of Laurion Mineral Exploration. Cynthia, welcome.
How do you do, Stu? Thank you for having me on your show today.
You are new to being an interviewee here on this program, and a number of people may not know you. Let's talk a little bit about Laurion Mineral Exploration. How did the company come together, and what are the projects and properties that you have under development right now?
Stu, I've been involved with Laurion Mineral Exploration since 2003. That's when I became CEO and president. The Ishkoday property, which is now our flagship property, I acquired in late 2007, 2008. Had a number of other projects in our portfolio, and recognizing the mortgage-backed security crisis we had in 2008, I knew that I had to sell some of my projects and bring the Ishkoday forward as my flagship property. It had lots of very key factors that made it look like the flagship property. So we actually sold a couple of our projects. We garnered about 6.3 million since probably 2010, and we used that money to put back into the project. So we have spent approximately $11 million on the Ishkoday property, have created or sort of acquired quite a substantial land base, not simply because we were in acquisition mode for property, but we followed mineralized trends, and we now have about 47 square kilometers of the Ishkoday property. We have a very substantial database of about 48,000 meters of drilling. We've completed a lot of channel sampling. We have and grab sampling, a lot of programs in the field, a lot of prospecting. Over the last couple of years, we've now collected roughly about 21,800 samples. We've got a substantial database of 8 geophysics databases. The project hosts 2 high-grade gold past producers, and I think I should tell you a little bit more about the mineralization and the location, because I think that's probably going to be very key to this project.
Yes. I was going to say, for a number of people say, hey, hang on a second, I haven't heard of you before.
Where is this project?
You're a substantial project here. Where are you located?
Stu, that's a good question. So we are located in the Onamantishota Greenstone Belt, that is 220 kilometers northeast of Thunder Bay. We have the Greenstone properties, Brookbank, to the south of us. To the east of us, we have a group of Argonaut properties, and Hard Rock is located in the Geraldton area that's owned by Centurion Premier.
Right.
So the Ishkoday is located 10 kilometers up the 801, just off Highway 11, that connects Thunder Bay to Timmins, Toronto.
So it's vitally important too to have that transportation link.
Absolutely, and I think this is very critical to point out that with the Ishkoday property, its accessibility and what it really has to offer is pretty incredible. So we have the project has great accessibility to substantial outcrop and exposure. And I think, as you know, today there are very few projects that are remaining that have this outcrop exposure. So I think it just kind of lay sort of dormant for so many years, being highlighted through the purchase in 2008. But we're extremely grateful for having this exposure to a very unique greenstone environment. It is a little different to other Archean greenstone environments. I started off sort of mentioning that we had 2 high-grade past gold producers on the property. It's the Brenbar mine and the historic Sturgeon mine. So both of them operated in the war years, were sunk probably 1936, and they operated to 1942, produced at 17 grams a ton. They produced in their time about 79,000 ounces of gold, 19,000 ounces of silver, and at that time it was probably about $32 an ounce. So they were mining at pretty high grade. So their cutoff grade was around 10 grams.
Yes.
Everything went onto a surface stockpile, which now has become a fairly substantial asset for us. So there's about 180,000 tons of a stockpile that grades around 1.75 grams an ounce grams a ton to
as a stockpile.
As a stockpile, yeah. So,
wow.
So that is a really great asset to us. I think it's important to note that because the war years ensued, most of the operators were then in turn to the war effort.
Yes.
And the mine shut down and was never reopened. Mm-hmm. So basically now we have an asset that we know opens up at depth. That was a very high grade asset at the time, and remaining in the stopes is about 90,000 ounces of a pretty high grade. Then we have to the east of that, we have a number of other substantial zones. Mm-hmm. But to the furthest to the east, we have a zone called the A zone. The A zone has about 26,000 meters of drilling completed in that. And that A zone is a fairly high grade gold and base metal operation. Wow. So basically, if I characterize the mineralization on the Ishkoday, it would be sort of high-grade gold stockworks, and then it would be centimeter to tens of meter wide gold and base metal zones. Mm-hmm. So we have sort of two slightly different environments. Both of them are really exciting to us. So because the corridor in which these lie is about 1 kilometer wide by 5 kilometers long. Mm-hmm. Last year we completed over 40,000 square meters of stripping, mm-hmm. and this enabled us through channel sampling, geochemical sampling, and the stripping to really identify and qualify or validate that trend and its extension. Mm-hmm. So we commenced in 2018 what we call a three-phase program, in which we completed the stripping and channel sampling, geochemical sampling, and a lot of prospecting. For very targeted drilling, we're now this summer 2020 about to commence the first of our drill programs of a 100,000 meter drill program. I believe that this will become, I think we have sufficient work now and substantial targets for our drilling that we will be very able to rapidly expand our resources on the Ishkoday. So for us, this is a brilliant time in terms of the market timing, and I think many of us miss cycles because we're not exactly prepared for this. I'd like to say that Laurion, with its one project, is very well prepared for this cycle. Mm-hmm. We are very well prepared from our database and the work that we have completed. Mm-hmm. And I think for us, being in a geopolitical friendly environment, having exceptional relationship with our First Nations or our Aboriginal groups, yes. is very important to us. Having the accessibility that we have to services and the main road, we have just a perfect situation to expand. So I think the last thing that people always ask is, what about your access to money? Laurion is very well funded to commence our program this year, and we have a great opportunity in a number of areas, a number of pipelines that will assist us in our funding for our projects over the next couple of years. So I think that, as I say, for me, this is the perfect storm for Laurion.
What will it take you to go to production?
We're mid-stage.
Yeah.
I think that it will take us probably another 3 or 4 years of rapid drilling for us to quantify what we have. And remember what I said to you, we have great surface exposure. The fact is that our exploration costs are now a lot cheaper because of the accessibility, because of our access to services. So we could potentially drill probably $150 a meter, which is really cheap. So we're going to start with sort of our fairly shallow drilling and then deeper drilling. So I'd say probably between 3 and 5 years.
3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And when we take a look at what's happening in the gold market right now,
yes,
the future looks possible, doesn't it?
it does. I think that no one can really predict what this market will look like. It's so different to any of the cycles that we've ever seen in the past. I think it's different in that money has changed hands. It's no longer in the hands of the larger banks. It's more in the high net worth family offices. I think that accessibility requires you need to have a network that is exceptional.
Right.
So, I have to say that I'm very fortunate to have a board member that has a network like water.
Do you anticipate that you might partner with a major firm to develop this, or based on the way you're talking, I get the sense that you're planning on developing this yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this has been a very strategic last 2-3 years. We have had steady support and investment from family and friends. We now hold 58.4% of Laurion, which obviously means that there's a relatively small float out there that gives us great stability. I feel that this enables me to focus exactly on what I'm supposed to do and develop the project and take it to a stage where it probably is an asset that could be for a takeover. Do I think that it's immediately? Absolutely not. I think I've got still quite a bit of work to do.
Yeah.
And basically I'd like to make sure that if that opportunity ever arrives, that it is at the optimum price for not only my shareholders and investors.
So if you're talking to a
nutshell.
potential investor right now, what are you saying to them? Somebody who's looking at you now, other than give me your money.
Other than everything that I've just told you.
Yes, because they're going to still say, okay, what's the unique opportunity right at this moment?
I'm going to validate 10 million gold equivalent ounces over the next 3 to 5 years.
That's a good story.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love simplicity.
I think most people do, and you're able to back it up with all the details as well.
Well, I'm
which
able
you've done
to back
over the
it
last
up
10 minutes.
with the basically what we spent.
Yeah.
You know, and I think unlike a lot of properties, if you'd like to visit and you'd like to look at it yourself, you're most welcome to.
Wow.
And we do that, and incidentally, every year, I think going forward, being proactive and sensitive to our shareholders and investors, I like to host them on our project so that they are able to have a look at exactly what we do and become very educated investors in the Ishkoday.
Oh, that's fabulous, and I'm wishing you great success, and I'm
Thank
hoping
you.
that you'll come back next year and give us an update and
Thank you, Stu.
Lay out how the next 2 or 3 years look moving forward into the mid-2020s.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll see you next time.